Okay, we'll make a start. So thank you all for coming. My name is Darren Yap, as you can see, and I help stressed out professionals to thrive under pressure. So I'll go into a business or school and I'll train them train the staff and sometimes pupils in how to use mindfulness to get the best out of their life and to reduce stress and anxiety. And the primary reason for this session is just to give you a taster of mindfulness and also to answer any questions that you have, because I know the discussion or the thread in the forum was it went on for quite a while. So I guess the first question is, what is mindfulness? So there are many definitions. Some people say it's just about being present. Some people say it's about focusing on the breath or trying to stop the thoughts. But one of the official definitions is to be in the present moment on purpose and without judgment. And those three things really, it is about choosing what you're going to focus on and to focus on that thing that's going on right now, and also not to judge it. Because one of the problems with anyone who's new to practicing mindfulness is that they're thinking, oh, am I doing it right? I can't stop my mind from thinking, and I'm just having one thought after the other. And actually, that can, just practicing mindfulness can create anxiety. You know, it can get you stressed out just trying to practice it. So part of it is to help is to help people to be more present, but also to accept what is going on. So it's quite a simple description, but whether it's easy or not, it's down to practice, and it is about practice. So you could do it once and you'll experience that relaxation perhaps, but in the long term, if you want to get a real benefit from it, it's about doing it regularly. And this session is also, I'll give you a few tips on how to do it, how to integrate it into your busy, hectic lives. Okay, so I suppose I should talk about the benefits. So obviously reducing stress, reducing anxiety, feeling like you're not so overwhelmed. I don't know if that makes sense to people. Just give me a yes if you understand, if that makes sense to you. You can type it in the chat or tick, yeah. So, and when you're not feeling so overwhelmed, you can then focus on whatever it is you have to focus on. It may be focusing on at work. You've got to focus on a project or focus on a report, or perhaps you're doing an Excel spreadsheet. Being able to focus on that and not have all these other thoughts about, oh, I've got a meeting at 4 p.m. or I've got to go out with the lads later. I must remember not, to get home, get ready and sort more stuff out. So all that stuff, it can crowd your head. So with mindfulness, you train yourself to leave all that to one side so you can focus on whatever it is you're focusing on now. And often you may find that you're watching something on the TV or on YouTube, and next minute you realize you haven't actually been paying attention because you've been thinking about work or something like that, or you've been thinking about an argument you had with someone. So it's like, how can we get back from whatever it is that was going on in our head to focus on whatever is going on now? And it's when you can do that regularly, then you'll start to feel that sense of calm, and you'll stop feeling so overwhelmed, so anxious. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Any questions at this point? Do type it in the chat. Okay, nothing. Not a problem. So what we'll do now, I'll give you a chance to experience some basic mindfulness. Actually, I'll just change this slide. So the usual one that you will see, whether you download an app or read a book, or you might see a video on YouTube, it's about focusing on the breath. And the reason why we focus on the breath is it's something we're all doing this, we're all breathing. So it's the easiest thing to do. It's the easiest thing to choose. So what I'd like you to do is sit comfortably. And whatever that means to you, if you want to sit upright, you may have a vision of people sitting upright with their legs crossed and their back straight, and they may be sitting on a comfy meditation cushion. But for me, it's just, you can be sitting on your bed, you can be sitting on your couch, or I'm sitting at my desk on a chair. And it's just sitting in a way that means that you won't fall asleep or fall off your chair. Yeah. So that's all I care about, is as long as you're comfortable. So there's no pressure. You don't have to have your feet in a particular way or your hands in a particular way. Okay, and now I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to focus on the breath as it passes in and out through the nostrils. So we just notice that sensation of the air passing through the nostrils. It may be a tickling sensation. It may be a cool sensation. You may feel a warmth as the air comes out of the nostrils. You may feel pressure on the insides of the nostrils. And whatever that sensation is, we just notice it. We're not liking or disliking it. We're not judging it. We're just using the sensation as an anchor to keep us in the present moment. And if you have any thoughts, we gently leave them to one side. We can think about those thoughts at the end of the session, and we bring our attention back to the sensation of the air passing through the nostrils. Now, as a reminder, if any thoughts appear in your mind, we gently leave them to one side, and we bring our attention back to the sensation of the air passing through the nostrils. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes, bringing your attention back into the room. So how did you find that? Easy to focus on the breath? Hard to focus on the breath? Relaxing? Just put down a word or a phrase in the chat box. Or perhaps you found that there was thought after thought that kept popping up in your mind. What was your experience? If you did find that you had a thought after thought after thought, that's absolutely fine. It's knowing that, okay, quite difficult. It's knowing that you are going to have a thought, and it's just about thinking, oh, acknowledging having that thought, leaving it to one side, coming back to the breath. Another thought will appear in the mind. You acknowledge you're having that thought and think, okay, I'm going to think about that later. But right now, I'm choosing to focus on the breath, and you come back. You may have had 10 thoughts appear. That's completely fine. And it's about not judging yourself, not saying, oh, you idiot. Just accept that thoughts will come. And then you come back. And it's this practice of you notice you have a thought, you come back. And it gives you that space between the thoughts because you're coming back, and you may have they may be short spaces, but the fact is you are coming back to the breath. And then over time, you'll find it easier to notice that you're having a thought or you're about to have a thought, that sense of my mind is starting to wander. And before you get into those thoughts, you come back. So that, because as you are probably aware, that the longer you go off in that spiral of the thoughts, the more the anxiety might build up, the more the stress, the more the stress can build up. So we try to bring ourselves back to whatever we want to focus on. We're not trying to empty the mind. We're giving our monkey mind, as we call it, something else to focus on. And it's by just practicing that. And that's why you have to practice. It's not just do it once and then you'll find it. It's all your stresses and anxieties have gone away. It's by regularly doing it and coming back. You'll have yet another thought. You think, fine, I can think about it later. But right now, I want to focus on my breath. And it's just repeating this again and again. And it does become easier. Then you can then find that you're able to do this when you're in a more stressful situation. You may have a presentation to make and you want to stay focused and you don't want to think about all the things that could go wrong in the presentation. So you think, okay, I'm starting to have those thoughts that are going to create worry. So you recognize you're having that just before presentation, and you just come back to focusing on what you need to do, which might be just to breathe, just to keep yourself calm and focused. Okay. Anyone else have any experiences? I find it can be easy to bring attention back if I say thinking in my head when I spot I'm drifting. Yeah, that's a good way of doing it. So you're acknowledging, you're labeling that thought or labeling what you're doing, and that actually it's kind of like, I think people call it like meta training. It's you're thinking about the fact that you're thinking, and by acknowledging that, you're stepping back, knowing that you're not your thoughts, you're just a human being having a thought, and then you can come back. And it is from practice. It is about practice. I'll keep saying that because it is, the more you practice it, the easier it gets. Any other observations? Okay. I think I'm easily distracted from what it is I'm trying to focus on. Yeah, that's fine. And again, first of all, we don't judge. You don't say, oh, you fool, stop focusing on other things, or stop getting distracted. The more you do it, the more you'll realize you're having a thought or you're being distracted, and then you can come back. And it is that practice. This is whatever we do, or whatever we do a lot of, we are practicing doing more. We're practicing making it easier. So by practicing the opposite, practicing focusing on something and choosing that very focus that you want to, that's choosing the anchor that you want to focus on, then you will find it easier over time to come back, and you'll find that you become less distracted. You'll find that you can focus on that book or that report or whatever it is that you're doing right now, or even that TV program, or that person you're talking to. They may say something, and then at the moment you might find that if they say a particular thing, then you start to daydream about it. They might be talking about their holiday, and they may say beach, and then you're thinking about how you spent time on the beach and the last time and what it was like, and then you've missed everything that they said about the beach. But actually, by practicing mindfulness, you will find that you think, oh, okay, I'm about to let my mind get distracted. And then you can bring yourself back to focus on, that's called mindful listening, when you're focusing 100% on what that person is saying. Okay. Teaching the dog to sit. Yeah, it is. It is a bit like Pavlov's dog. Um, so I did put a post on LinkedIn earlier today, and it is about whatever you're doing more of, you are going to train yourself to do more. So you can put some sort of interruption to train your own Pavlov's dog in your head to do whatever it is you want to do, or you want the mind to do. Okay. Does anyone have any questions at this stage? I mean, one thing on the talking about anxiety, what we find is we tend to ruminate, and if we were just to sit and do nothing, humans, the fact that we're alive today and we're not sitting around a fire or in a cave is because we think and plan and think about worst case scenarios. So they did research and found out something like 70% of our thoughts are negative, but it has kept us alive. So, and it is useful if you're in a meeting and your boss asks you what thing we need to plan about, what, for, well, I can't remember what the word is, but if things go wrong, what can you do, or what needs to be done. That's what health and safety, you have all the health and safety stuff. That's what it's about. The reality is we don't need to be doing that all the time. We don't need to be worrying and ruminating, just letting ourselves thinking about the worst case scenarios all the time. If I don't do this, this will happen, and this will happen, and this will happen. We don't need that. So by practicing mindfulness, we can get back to focusing on whatever it is we're trying to do. And it doesn't have to be work. It can be leisure. As I say, it can be watching a TV program. It can be talking to a friend. Okay. So what I'd like to do now is try another meditation. So instead of breathing, well, I want you to breathe still. What I want you to do, if you can look at your phones or laptops, your devices, can you all see a rocky shore on a beach? Was there anyone who can't see that? Okay. So we're going to focus on this scene. Good, thank you. And I want you to look at a piece of rock and just notice the imperfections. You might see shadows or dents. I just want you to study moving your eyes around the piece of rock that you've chosen. Just noticing the light parts, the dark parts, the general texture. And if you have any thoughts, we leave them to one side and bring our attention back to the rock that we're looking at. Just studying, observing. We're not judging the rock. We're not liking or disliking the texture and the color. We're just studying this piece of nature. And then take your attention to another rock and just notice the natural shape, the light, the dark, the varying colors. And again, we're not liking or disliking it. We're not going to compare it to the previous rock. We're just going to observe, explore with our eyes, noticing the different textures. And now I want you to take your attention to an area of the sand, just noticing the colors, the shadows, the smooth areas, slowly moving your eyes to the rough areas, noticing the imperfections. And again, we're not liking or disliking it. We're just accepting what is there in front of us. We're just observing what we can see. And now I want you to take your attention to the water, just noticing the subtle tones, the shapes, different colors. And again, we're not judging what we see, we're just observing, using the water as the anchor for our attention. Now I want you to take your attention to the clouds, the sky, just looking at the colors, the blues and the reds and the very light blues. Again, we're just noticing, just studying the shapes, the textures and the colors. We're not liking or disliking that area of the photograph. And now we'll move our attention to the next photo. You should all be able to see a flower. So first of all, we'll bring our attention to the center of the flower, looking at the blue center, noticing the dark blue areas and the light blue areas, noticing the wavy lines in the center. And then we'll take ourselves to the petals. So first of all, we'll look at how it changes from yellow to white. And we're not judging that. We're not liking or disliking that color. We're not thinking, I like this flower or I dislike flowers. We're just using what we see in front of us to keep us in the present moment. If you have any thoughts, once more, we just leave them to one side and bring our attention back to the flower. And then you can move your eyes to another petal, noticing the yellow as it goes into white. And then perhaps choose another petal and notice how it changes from yellow to white. And now I want you to take your attention to the edge of one of the petals, near the center of the flower, and slowly trace your eye along the petal, the edge of the petal, moving your attention to the very tip of a petal. And then once you reach the tip, you slowly move your attention, tracing along the edge of the petal back to the center of the flower. And then pick another petal, repeating the same exercise, moving your eyes slowly from along the edge of a petal, from the center out to the tip and back in. And you may find that your eyes do it smoothly, or it may be in a jerky fashion. Whatever the movement is, we just accept it. We're not liking or disliking how we do it. We're not judging ourselves for not doing it in a way that we expect we can do it. Okay. So how did you all find that exercise? Easier than focusing on the breath? Harder? More enjoyable? Less enjoyable? More difficult than focusing on the breath? So some people find that exercise more difficult. It worked better for you. So everyone will have their own choice of what's easier and what's more difficult. Preferred the breath one. And it's a case of choosing the exercise that works for you, because if you're doing something that you enjoy or you find easier, you're more likely to do it. So that's the first, or one of the tips is to try or to keep practicing the exercise that you prefer to do. And then perhaps in a month's time or even 6 months' time, try an exercise that you find or you found a bit more challenging. Because it is about training and challenging the mind. So another tip that people find useful is just try 2 minutes a day. A lot of people say to sit and meditate for 20 minutes. A lot of famous people do practice mindfulness and they'll sit every morning for 20 minutes. But that might be too much for a lot of people who are new to mindfulness, with they've got a really busy mind, and actually it's easy just to think, right, I'm just going to do 2 minutes a day, because if you can do it for just 2 minutes a day, then you're more likely to get to instill that habit and it becomes that thing that you do. For instance, you brush your teeth every day and you don't think, oh God, I've got to brush my teeth. You just get on and do it. So what we want to do is make mindfulness one of those things that you do every day, and you just don't think about whether you should do it or not do it, or you're trying to make an excuse not to bother doing it. You just get on and do it. And the final tip is, oh, what's that? Is it better to do it in silence to be? It's up to you, because if you find that if you live in a flat and it's really noisy, then you might want to drown out the noises initially. But if you do it in silence and you do notice noises, it's about accepting, about not judging those noises, about just going with it. I don't know if that answers your question. So I'll give you the final tip and then we can decide if we want to continue. So the final tip is, although a lot of people do it in the morning, try doing it at different times of the day. Maybe go out at lunchtime and find a quiet spot. Maybe even find a quiet spot in the corner of the office, or maybe just sit outside the office perhaps, or in your car, and just try meditating then. Or you can do it when you get home. You come home, make yourself a cup of tea and just sit for 2 minutes on your own. just focusing on the breath or whatever it is that you want to focus on. Or maybe even try it late after dinner. You've had your dinner after work and then you focus on the breath or whatever it is that you want to meditate on. And then the final thing, you can try doing it at night. Turn off the lights and you might hear a ticking clock, or it might be completely quiet, or you might hear the sound of the central heating going, and you just focus on that or focus on the breath. And you'll find I find that's a great way of getting off to sleep quickly. And especially if you wake up in the middle of the night, it's 4 a.m. You will probably want to pick up your phone and check it, but don't, because that'll just start your mind thinking. You know that if you just lie in the darkness, your mind's going to go off on one. So what you can do instead is use it as an opportunity to practice mindfulness again. So focusing on the breath or focusing on some kind of sound. Or maybe even in the darkness with your eyes closed, you can see colors and whatever your eyes choose to, whatever signals your eyes choose to send you. Okay, so to summarize, mindfulness is about being in the present moment on purpose. So that bit means you're focusing on whatever it is that's going on. So it might be the breath, it might be looking around. Oh, did I drop out for everyone? Okay, well, what I'll do is when you'll be able to hear what you missed in the recording. So to summarize, being in the present moment on purpose. So that is focusing on what's going on right now and choosing to do so. So you don't let your mind just wander, and without judgment. So it's being in the present moment on purpose without judgment. So you don't criticize yourself, you don't judge yourself, you don't like or dislike what's going on around you, you're just noticing it, just observing it. So this session, it was supposed to be for 30 minutes. It's now 8:33. I'm happy to go on for another 15 minutes and we can do another exercise. If you want to, if any of you have to shoot off, then you're welcome to do so. But otherwise, we can do one more exercise. Okay, no one's disappeared, so thank you. We will continue. So the next exercise, with your eyes closed once more. In for a penny, for a pound. Yeah. We're going to midnight. So the next exercise, with your eyes closed, sitting comfortably. I want you to just use your ears to listen to the sounds around you. Perhaps you can hear the central heating. It's cold at the moment. I can hear my radiators clicking. I can hear the sound of the water just passing through the radiators. So we're not judging that sound. We're just noticing whatever sound we hear in the room we're in. And now I want you to take your attention outside the room. What can you hear? Perhaps you can hear the neighbours. If you live in a flat, you might be able to hear the neighbours. They might be playing music. You might be able to hear voices talking. We don't judge that sound. We just notice the noises outside the room. Just using those sounds to keep us in the present moment. And if you have any thoughts that appear in your mind, we leave them to one side and bring our attention back to the sounds that we hear. And we're not trying, if you do hear conversation, we're not trying to work out what they're saying, just using those vocal noises to keep us in the present moment. You may hear cars passing if you live near a busy road. If it's raining where you are, you may hear rain on the window. You may hear sound of wind. Whatever that sound is that you can focus on, that you can hear, We just observe that sound without judgment. And now I want you to bring your attention back into the room once more, listening to the sounds inside the room, whether it's the central heating or whatever noises you can hear. It might be the sound of your PC or laptop. We just observe those sounds inside the room. We're not judging those sounds. We're not liking or disliking those sounds. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes, bringing your attention back into the room. So how did you find that exercise? Harder, easier, different to about the same as the breathing one? Do you think it was a bit strange that you're not trying to listen to meditative sounds? Yes. When you're really present, you start to notice lots of things going on. And what I found, you find it quite relaxing. Missed the start of the session due to getting home late. Oh, okay. So what you'll find is that, especially if you live in a busy area, I live in southwest London, so it's one of the busiest cities in the world. It's really difficult to find a quiet spot, somewhere where it's completely quiet. And I've learnt actually you can make the noises around you your friend. I mean, I actually have a ticking clock, and when it's 4 a.m. and you're woken up for whatever reason, and you hear the sound of the ticking clock, a lot of the time people will think, "Oh God, I wish that clock will shut up." When you just hear tick, 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 but actually you can use that sound to keep you in the present moment, so your mind doesn't go off on one. And it is that practice. It's just by practicing, by choosing, by just observing what's going on around you, using the stuff around you to keep you in the moment. You have a thought, you come back. You have another thought, you bring your attention back. And it's that practice of coming back again and again that just makes it easier to get into that space between your thoughts, so you can just focus on whatever it is that you need to focus on. Okay. Does anyone have any final questions? Absolutely anything at all. I think that the exercise we just did, that really answers your question, Ollie, about is it better to do it in silence to begin with, or with yoga type music? So if you were to listen to music or yoga sounds, you can actually use those sounds to focus on. If you're listening to music, you can try listening to one instrument for a bit, and focus on another instrument, and then focus on another instrument. So just moving between instruments slowly, just using those different sounds to keep you in the present moment. I didn't realize how busy my mind is. Yeah, our minds can be quite busy. Even the Dalai Lama, who meditates for hours every day, says that his mind is still busy. And I think he also said that if he could take a pill, if he could buy a pill to help him achieve enlightenment, he would do so. So it's not easy. It's a pleasure running it. So thank you all for coming. And are there any other questions before we finish? I'll just give you a couple of seconds in case there's anyone typing frantically. Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. It was a pleasure running this. And I will email you when the recording is available. The Zoom system will process it and then let me know when it's available. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Bye-bye.